Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 3. That's right. We made it to episode 3 of the Pretty Good podcast.
Recorded before the second one is even published.
That's true.
It's been up. It's just, waiting to be released still.
Yeah, you guys won't appreciate this in your time period watching this, but Green Beret Spetsnaz is taking a minute. Some technical difficulty.
Yeah, we know only the hardcore people. We have a lot of people watching Apache vs. Gladiator. It's like the new thing on YouTube. But only the hardcores are watching the Pretty Good podcast. Little inside scoop.
Yep.
We're editing right now Green Beret vs. Spetsnaz. We just finished Maori versus Shaolin Monk. Green Beret vs. Spetsnaz has been a hell to edit, but we're on the right track now. And I'm thinking probably end of this week we should have it finished.
Hey, you got to get the kinks worked out. But anyways, sorry, I want to redo a little bit. I want to re-say the Pretty Good podcast. As always, I'm Lucas, joined here by
Craig Taylor
And Matt Davis.
And behind the scenes here, we got Brendan on the ones and twos.
Hello.
All right. I want to open this week. I was astounded last week. I have your same cooler sitting next to me, and I kept going, oh man, this cooler is so cold. And I was like, it's the RTIC cooler. I went to work and I was like, oh, have you guys ever heard of, we were talking about like Yeti coolers and name brand stuff. And I was like, oh, did you guys ever hear of an RTIC cooler? And they go, do you mean Arctic? I'm like, yeah. Shit, that makes sense.
Another Mangina episode.
Tell you what, I'd like to shit on Lucas, but I did not correct you because I didn't know. So,
well, someone even said like, "Oh, I have an Arctic cooler." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. You should try an RTIC." And they're like, "That's Arctic." I'm like, "What?"
That's the worst.
I know that.
Yeah.
All right.
Real quick before we get into anything, I have a very important announcement to make. I haven't told any of these guys. I've barely even told my family. Brendan, I want you to cue up some applause. Okay, so are you playing it? Okay, well, not yet. I didn't say what it was. Yeah. I didn't say what it was. The people want to know.
Leave that
up. Well, don't do it yet. Wait till I reveal it. Okay. Today, I snagged a PS5.
Oh.
to be, thank you. Let the people applaud.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow, cool.
Thank you. Yeah. So full disclosure, a friend of mine at work, he's been like getting alongside me, and he snagged one at Best Buy and was like, hey, do you want this? And I was like, yeah. And I threw another $100 for him because I'm generous.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where I'm like, oh man, I feel bad because he wanted to just sell it to me at like regular price. And I was like, man, I'll give you, it's okay. I'll give you an extra $100. And he was like, okay. Then you're like, oh shit.
I didn't need to do that.
In the moment, you're like, oh yeah, man, I'm so happy. Then I'm like
$20 would have been good. Well, I'm going to be the first to welcome you to the club of the PS5 owners.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Probably first thing I'm going to play is Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, which I'm pissed. I bought Ghost of Tsushima on sale for like $40, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to play on PS5 for like the highest quality. I'm going to wait because I have a PS4. And then they're like, okay, well, the Director's Cut is $30, which is add them together 70, which is the cost of the Director's Cut. So, I didn't really get out, but I'm excited to play that. And I'm probably not going to play Death Stranding because I had enough of that game.
I think that game's kind of dead at this point, honestly.
Well, there's the new one coming out. Like,
Yeah, they did a director's cut of that, which I don't understand because didn't Kojima have like full creative freedom on that game?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can do whatever he wants. It's like a fancy way to say like DLC.
I guess, yeah.
But,
okay. Is that going to be this generation's new thing? Like saying this generation of consoles, anytime there's DLC, they're just going to say, it's the director's cut.
Well, that was
the director's cut of Call of Duty where we give you 5 new maps.
You remember they did that last, like even like the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, there was the Game of the Year edition of everything. Even if the game didn't win like Game of the Year, it was like all the DLC and the base game.
There's a funny Donkey video where he makes fun of that. And one of the Game of the Year editions is like 2 Worlds 2. So, yeah. But I'm excited. I got the digital. So, because I'm not really good. I'm over discs at this point. That's a whole other discussion.
Over what?
over discs. I'm not over that. Let me tell you. So yeah, I'm excited. And then also they have a lot of those games like that. What do they call it? Like the not the play at home, but like the classic collection where like you could play.
Yeah, as soon as you upgrade to the PlayStation 5, they have like a whatever bundle you get for congratulations, you managed to snag one where you get like 20 free games. It's all.
Oh man, I don't know about you guys at home, but hearing all this PS5 elitist talk is putting me to sleep.
Hey, listen, I ain't no bum. I got both.
I'll be joining that boat soon. Unlike some people.
Hearing all this PS5 elitist talk is putting me to sleep. Let's talk about Black Widow for the next hour and a half.
No, listen, hey, Brendan, how's the Xbox One?
Slow.
Loud.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, let me try this beer real quick. So I thought we were going to make a big bit out of this. This is a beer that...
Yeah, my father-in-law, he sells beer, so he's overall an enthusiast of beer too, so he always finds the strangest ones and just gives them to me like as a gift for being a good man to his daughter.
The funny thing is I'm a beer enthusiast, but shit. I like beer, but people don't call me that. They call me a drunk. They call me a beer enthusiast. Do we have a laugh track for that one, Brendan?
This one is it's called General Braddock's, and it came in a 4-pack, so I figured it would be the perfect thing to use for the Gen Pod. Yep.
I'll be sure to lower that. The audio works.
I want the record to show Craig's beer isn't even open, and his mic's falling off the table.
Yeah, I'm like struggling to open. Rip off my finger now.
All right, we're gonna let Craig. I want you to give your notes on that beer real quick, and then we do have to move on, and we gotta darken the subject a little bit. So you go ahead. What's your thought process on that beer?
General Braddock, important general when it comes to the greater Pittsburgh area.
General Braddock's disc taste?
Not that bad. Hoppy, like an IPA.
It is hop,
but I don't think it's too much. I had this one thing called Hop Devil, and it tasted like earwax. It was really bad. And this isn't like that. This is like hoppy, but like a tasteful amount.
Yeah, I think it's because this is definitely an IPA, so it's got a little bit more hop in it. But you're right, Craig. Anything that markets itself as like this is hops. If you're into hops, drink this beer.
Fucked up. It's like
awful.
It's like lawnmower grass. Like,
yeah.
After you cut it.
I remember going to a bar in college, and I was watching. This was for like the World Cup finals or something, and so we went to this English pub that was there, and it was rip roaring good time. All the boys were there in their hooligan jerseys. I could not give less of a shit about soccer, so I'm like just there to drink with the guys. And one of the beers they had on tap, they had Dale's Pale Ale, which I was drinking, and then they ran out of Dale's, and all they had left on tap was this beer called Hopium. And some of my friends,
what a distasteful name.
some of my friends were drinking it, and I was like, fuck it, I'll try some Hopium. I took one.
Next thing you know, you're in the back alley sleeping on a mattress.
I took a sniff of that thing. Have you guys ever like been in conditions where you're sweating a lot and then you have to take a dump?
Yes.
It smelled like that. And I remember smelling it and being like, oh, this is nasty. But of course I was drunk and I was 19, so I was like, I'm going to drink it anyways.
Whoa. You mean you were 21?
Oh, yeah, you're right. It was in a bar, so I must have been 21. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, no, I didn't. Yeah. Anyways, sorry. But correction for the camera. My definitive college age, I always just call myself 19. So, but I must have been 21 because we were in a bar. And I was, I took a sip of this and I looked at the guys and I was like, I think this beer is like bad. I think they gave me like a bad beer. And the one guy took a sip and he's like, no, it's fine. It's good.
That dude's acting. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, and I was like, shit, okay. And the beer was not bad because you guys, I know it's like you'd be shaking your heads if you were a fly on the wall watching me, but I finished that beer and I got another Hopium. I hated every second of it, but I just got another one.
This ain't too bad.
Yeah, and I got another one, and that one tasted like shit too. So I was like, I don't think it's the beer because everybody's drinking this right now in this bar, and I think it's just the way. So Hopium, if you want to sponsor us, I might change the story around a little bit, but
Yo, General Braddock, I'm liking this more.
Was
and more,
not a
though.
fan.
General Braddock, camera on me. General Braddock, hit us up. Xenogames1
yeah.
at gmail.com. We also have it's complicated.
Hit us up on the Twitter too.
We also have Xenu Games at
Yeah, it's
Send it to the one that ends in a 1 though.
Yeah.
I don't want Dan getting any of our General Braddock money. So
Can I tell you a moment that you just remind me of like it was like one of the first moments that I realized I was getting older. We've had plenty of nights, hanging out in a basement, having a couple drinks, having a good time. And we got invited to a 21st birthday party to our friend's little brother, who we practically raised, essentially.
Oh yeah.
And he's Jace. If you're out there, this is your party
Big
we're
Jace,
talking
baby.
about. And so we go over, and we're like 4 or 5 years older or something like that.
Yes.
I don't even remember.
Five.
And so we go over, and they're all turning 21 or whatever, and we're all there at the party. And I don't even remember when he was 21. I think it was, but not important. So everyone's making drinks that night, and we're down. We're like sipping our our beverages, and someone makes this drink, and it is 90% vodka, and like someone's like, oh, and then put a little bit of Sprite in there, give it, and then they're like, Big Jace, drink this, it's your birthday. And I'm proud of him because he goes, oh, dude, this is disgusting.
Yeah.
And then he hands it off to someone else, and this kid made me feel like the most adult I've ever been, because this other kid goes, that's pretty good.
yeah.
And I'm like, this kid is not like old. He's not mature. He's not.
Dude, I don't know if you remember, we were in like his basement the whole party, just like chilling. Like we made that our area, and then all of these Zoomers came flooding in,
Yeah.
and they're all like they got their alcohol, and they're all chilling in there. And you and I could not have cleared out faster. It was a time where I felt old because I was like, oh, these are like kids that are significantly younger than me, and none of them want me in this room, right? Like you could like they got in there, and it's like these guys and girls are gonna start playing games or whatever, and I'm like, my job is to get the fuck out, or I'm gonna be that guy that was at like our high school parties that was like like the old guy who was just inexplicably there, probably because he brought the alcohol, and he's like clearly there to be a weirdo.
Yeah, I after you graduate from college, as I'm sure all of you will know, going to like a college type party is like the worst. You're like, dude, this is fucking.
Yeah.
It's like going to Chuck E. Cheese.
See, I like to think I matured past the point where like, they're all downstairs like just pouring random amounts of vodka, like warm vodka into warm pop. And like, this drink's awesome, man.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like upstairs, I'm like, 1 part this, 1 part Sprite. Let's get a little lime in there.
Yeah.
I'm like, because it actually tastes good. Like,
Yeah,
I don't want to drink to just get like.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm here like, General Braddock, this is pretty good. I'm just sip on this. A
Yeah,
little bit.
well, this actually is good. No bullshit.
Yeah, it is
Would be
good.
the first to say it tastes like shit, but I actually fuck with it.
No, I think
Probably
it's
the
pretty
first
good.
time I've ever liked an IPA.
Yeah, I'm usually not one for IPA, but it's definitely like, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. So we got to move on to a dark subject. I'm gonna do my best. I'm not good at doing serious things, but recently this week, Trevor Moore of The Whitest Kids You Know passed away, and it's very unfortunate. We send our condolences to the family, to friends, everyone.
They'll
It's
see
really
this.
sad.
Rest in PCP to Trevor,
Yeah.
my boy.
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't want us to be too sad, but
Yeah.
it was, it was something we used to watch back when we were younger a lot. I can honestly say I probably haven't watched it that much recently. I don't know if it's still going, but we used to watch it all the time, and he was really funny. I mean, he was, what was he, 41?
He was
Or
41, yeah.
Yeah,
That is really, really young.
I think he has a young kid too.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It's sad.
Yeah, I think that what's special, I think, about Wise Kids You Know, it's something that no one ever actually watched on TV. Like, it's
Yeah.
very much because of YouTube that people know what it is.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's really special when you see someone. It's still common that a lot of people really are into it, but it's still special. Like, oh, you watch this stuff on YouTube too. So, and what also is like extra sad is they actually started their own YouTube channel and kind of like upload high quality versions of their sketches from the show, and then they upload commentary talking about them.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
that's really cool. I think they stream and then upload the stream. So there's a lot of sketches I've discovered from like those conversations. I recommend checking them out because they're interesting if you like the show. But I think they were probably planning some kind of comeback and like all this other stuff. And it's going to be tough to do without him because I think he was probably like the main guy. He was in like, I think all of them, if not an extremely high amount.
Yeah, it'll be weird to see if, I mean, I imagine, I don't know if they'll continue it or not at this point, or if, I mean, I know they'd at least have to take like a hiatus for a while.
I like to see them because they've all been posting about it. I like to see them talk about it. I remember where I was at a bar and my girlfriend told me, and I was like, it was one of those things that's like JFK just got killed or something. Like where I was like, there's no way. And then I saw like all these articles and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is so fucked up. I kept saying that. I mean, I was kind of drunk, but I was just like, this is so fucked up. Like, I just watched him on YouTube the other day, which was true. Like I'm talking about it. So yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, I hadn't watched in a while, and I had that moment where I was like scrolling down like a news feed, and I saw, Trevor Moore. I always forget his name. Honestly,
that's special on his eulogy.
I'm getting to that because I don't want to pretend like I'm like some big like super fan or anything. I honestly I remembered him from the sketch show, and I didn't remember completely him by name, so I kind of glanced over it and I continued scrolling, and it was like later that day that it kind of dawned on me. I was like, I know who that is, and like I know you guys were posting about it like in our chat, and I was like, oh shit, like I know who that is then.
Yeah.
He's the grapist.
Yeah.
He's the guy pitching the grapist ad, I think, in that skit. But yeah, talk about like some iconic like 2000s era skits that are like
it's SpongeBob-esque in how if you've seen them that you can use them to describe complex feelings. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like you'll say a quote and it means more than the sum of its parts.
And it really falls in line with me on that kind of humor that is almost like, I'm trying to put this in terms, like it's a little unorthodox, like it's very weird. It's sort of like a very much in the vein of like the Jackass stuff, the Mega 64. Obviously we're all fans of Mega 64 on this show. And like the Eric Andre show and stuff like that, where it's weird and kind of like their skits are kind of weird and sometimes gross and sometimes just so goofy and silly, and like the production value is low, but that's part of what makes it funny.
It's like late night stuff you watch when it's like midnight and you're like still up.
Yeah. And also like tone wise, it's stuff that would be offensive if you didn't understand like the heart behind it.
Yeah,
stuff like the Grapist or like like the one where he's like, you remember the one where we're talking about going to kill the president on TV?
Yes,
where he's like, you can't say that. If I said I want to kill the president, you're not allowed to say that. Like that stuff is like you would think, oh shit, if it was anybody else, but you know where their heart is, and I think that's what's special.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate, but is there any other funny skits from them? I mean,
I've been going back, probably like a lot back
the Call of Duty one. I remember.
I've been going as back, kids was like the funniest thing.
And rewatching like all of them because of him passing, and so because it reminded me about The Whitest Kids You Know, and I was like, I used to watch those guys, and so I went back and I started with The Grapist, of course, because that's the one I've always remembered.
That's like the most iconic to me.
I've just been working my way through them and seeing some that I've never seen before. There's a funny one where he's like in an office building and he's it's a sniper. I forget. It's
Sniper
called
Business.
Yeah, it's like Sniper Business or whatever. It's pretty good. So
yeah,
go check out some of those old Whitest Kids You Know videos, guys. Do yourselves a favor.
Watch them. Yeah, I mean, very funny. I mean, it's unfortunate, but we'll move on to a much lighter note. That was it just announced today that GTA, they're doing a remaster trilogy.
It wasn't officially announced, but it was like Kotaku confirmed that this is being worked on. Yeah, so I have maybe not to take over hosting duties, but to legitimately, like, there are certain games in my life where I'm like, oh, this is really cool, they're making this. I will not spend money on this because I'm not going to have time, but I'm really happy it's coming out. This is one of those games for me. So legitimately, are you going to buy this?
Yes, I will, because I I have a lot of nostalgia for the old GTA games, and I've tried. We talked about it on the first episode of this podcast. I've tried to go back and play some of those older ones, and
It's rough.
They've reached the point. They've reached the point of time where they're too old, and I don't want to like even waste my time. But I definitely think it would be a lot of fun for me to go back now as like an adult when you actually should be playing those games, right? And go through and try to play them with better controls and better graphics.
For clarity, too, this is GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. So
Yeah.
it's not like 1 and 2 or that were on the PlayStation 1 and stuff. I mean, they might remaster this someday, but I doubt it.
I doubt
It also
that.
depends. Remaster means so many different things.
That's what I was gonna
think
get
it's
at.
going to be like re-release with a higher frame rate.
I
and,
was
like,
wondering
cleaner
that too,
textures.
if they're gonna build it from the ground up, or if because they've re-released on Pro. You could buy on like PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, blah,
Yeah.
like San Andreas, Vice City. You can
Yeah,
play
but
them.
this is going to be like that is just a re-release where they're just taking the game and like, hey, if you
Yeah.
wanna play it. They should be updating some stuff in this
They
one.
should be working on 6.
They probably are working on 6, but that game is not coming out for another 20 years. Probably.
It makes me think like this is probably some kind of labor of love because they sure as fuck don't need the money.
Yeah.
Like it's like one of the most financially successful games of all time with GTA Online and GTA 5. So I don't think this is like a cash grab, but I don't know. I played San Andreas. I didn't play any of the GTAs as a kid besides like 4, which
I started at 3.
later. Yeah. So
Yeah.
part of me wants to play these just to check them out. But I remember I bought San Andreas like on a whim and I was like, oh, I can't do this. Like this is
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah, it's like too old. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the Vice City and San Andreas Vice City especially had like one of the dopest radio soundtracks in the game. It was
you remember-
all 80s bangers, and like it was the first time I had heard a lot of those songs. Like there's a whole lot of like Michael Jackson and Motley Crue and just
You get your balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was just cool stuff like that, and I would sing those songs and then I'd hear them later. I'm like, oh, it was like an 80s hits channel because I think the whole thing was supposed to be set in the
yeah.
80s. Yeah.
Do you remember still one of my favorite GTA characters of all time? And did you play Vice City? Like all the way? Do you remember Lance Van's dance?
I don't remember enough of it. Like,
He was like your friend that would always dressed in like the weird outfits, and then here's the spoiler alert. It's like a 20-year-old game. He would like betray you at the end. It was like the big betrayal at the end.
there's
and it was-
always a betrayal in GTA.
yeah,
games.
that
It's
was
like
your buddy in that one, and he was like Lance Van's dance.
Yeah, I feel like that's a recurring trope in all those games. Is one of your close associates betrays you. Like that happens in San Andreas too.
And even sort of towards the end of 5, I guess,
Yeah.
depending on what you choose.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. Depending on how much they do to it. But it's one of those things that's such a big investment. I think a few things, like if it's $60, probably a no for me. If they don't clean up the controls, probably a no for me. But if those things don't happen,
Circle,
Then-
still shoot.
yeah, then
Hey.
I might check it out.
All we had to do was follow the damn train, CJ.
Like if you remember
Oh
that
shit!
mission.
Here we go again.
Oh shit! Here we go again.
Dun, 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 dun. Welcome to Lucas's Corner, talking about the shit only I care about for about 30 seconds. Farming Sim 2022.
Brandon, turn them off.
Farming Sim 22. Farming Sim 22 has come out. Great game series if you're into them. A lot of improvements over 19. I've been going back playing 19.
Can we get a remaster of 1 through 20? 1 through 21?
It's a fun game, okay? If you know, you know.
I remember I tried to play Farming Simulator 19 and my tutorial was supposed to get on like the tractor or something and I couldn't figure it out. So I uninstalled
Aren't
it.
those games like $100?
No, that's the train sim ones that are.
Oh, okay.
No, 19 is free on Game Pass right now. And they have a little bit of a learning curve, but once you figure it out, it's kind of like one of those mindless fun games. I don't know. I enjoy it.
Just a
that
cool
was
vibe game.
that was Lucas's Corner. Thanks for joining.
You know, we're all about the vibes on this podcast.
There is something to playing a game that you only have to devote 50% of your brain to, and the other 50% is like a podcast or music.
Yeah.
That's very special. So,
Well, you can hire workers in that game. Once you get like your operation up and running, you get so many like fronts going. Like you have so many fields going. You have so many like machines and stuff, and you could hire workers to do it for you. So it almost becomes like a sim game at that point. Like it kind of you can afford to. stop doing everything yourself, and it like becomes a different type of game. So I mean, if you enjoy it, whatever. If you don't, whatever. But Craig, I know you wanted to talk about your journey down into the Yakuza games.
Yeah, so I've been getting more into it. So as some people may know, Yakuza, pretty much the entire mainline series.
Careful, don't bring up what you're not allowed to bring up.
No,
One rule on this podcast: we don't talk about the other podcasts.
No. So pretty much the entire mainline series, including Like a Dragon, which is 7, is on Game Pass, which is nice. And it's been really fun. It's a cool series. They remade the first 2 games because they were on PS2, and even playing the remaster, you're like, oh, this is a PS2 game. There's stuff that doesn't make sense, and you're like, oh, this section is so PS2, didn't know what they were doing. Like, this is sort of awkward. So they redid 1 and 2. It's sort of complicated for anyone who wants to play these games. The remasters, it's not as simple as playing them in the order they came out, because the remasters have added scenes to tie them in to other games. And there's also a prequel, which is sort of complicated. So the way I did it is I started with 7, which is the newest one. It has its own protagonist, so you don't have to know anything. And it's turn-based RPG, really cool. Then I played 1, Yakuza Kiwami 1. Then I played 0, which is the prequel in the 80s, and you get to play as Goro, and it's kind of long, but it's really fun. And then I'm playing 2 right now, which I think has the battle system from 6. So kind of complicated, but I would start with Like a Dragon, then go to 1, which is relatively short, 0, and then 2. And then from then it's just numerical. But yeah, there's a lot of cool writing. I like the tone. It's very funny. Localization's very funny. And Kiryu, I've heard people criticize the protagonist of the games as like being very stoic. But I don't know. He's kind of like a Superman type figure where he's super strong and badass. But that's also what makes him interesting is like the more human moments that he has. And
They seem like Saints Row games to me in like a way where like they're kind of ridiculous and a little over the top sometimes.
yeah, but Saints Row I think goes too far where like it just pisses me off and it's just like Deadpool humor, which I can't stand.
Dubstep gun, bro.
Yeah, and where it's just trying so hard to be memey, and Yakuza doesn't need to. And the story is very good. Like it's super dramatic, and yeah, as long as you don't care about the subtitles, because there's also another spin-off series that does have a dub, which is the Judgment series, Yakuza Judgment. They just call it Judgment, where you're a different character. It's like a police game, but it's very much the same combat. And a new Judgment's coming out to further complicate it, I think in September or something. But anyway, yeah, I recommend anyone play those games. I think that they're really pretty and really fun.
Okay.
Do you guys remember back on PlayStation 2? Because we were talking about it, like bloop, sparked a little memory. Do you remember when Manhunt came out and Manhunt 2 came out, and they were like the banned games? Did you guys ever actually play those?
I didn't know.
Really, like not that bad, I guess. Yeah. Although I went back, like I think I played like the first one. It wasn't that bad, and I went back and I was like, the other day, someone was talking about. I was like, what was so bad about Manhunt 2? And I read the plot of it, and I was like, jeez, you're like a guy going around who's like filming on like a snuff film for like like you, or like they'll kill your family or something like that. And I was like, maybe they had a reason to ban these games.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about those games is back in the day, like I think this is a whole different topic, but thinking about how young video games are is kind of crazy compared to movies, where they're held to the same standard as movies and music and these other art forms. Have been around for like years. But video games are really young, and I think back then, like people were more reactionary. Nowadays, I think of a game years ago where it was like a mass shooting simulator, and everyone immediately wrote it off like this is just like stupid. There's nothing to this.
I know I remember exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
because you sent us the trailer.
I did.
I think you did. Yeah, you sent all
awesome game, guys.
No, well, not in that way, but you were like, oh, look at this, like just making it known like this is a game everybody's going crazy about. And yeah, it's such a product of being afraid of video games is such a product of like the 90s. I feel like it's very much like I feel like the period between Columbine and 9/11. Yeah, because after 9/11 happened, I think the country was so desensitized that the only thing you couldn't put in a video game after 9/11 was America being the bad guy.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do that for a while. But Yeah, because 9/11 desensitized a bunch of people, I think, or at least the media class. But yeah, I remember Columbine happened. I don't remember that personally, but you read about it, and Columbine happened, and a lot of people were very upset, and so games like that, people were like searching for an answer, right?
Yeah. Horrible like event in history.
I think it's actually because one of the shooters was an active fan of Doom.
That's
Yeah,
what I
he
was just
did
gonna
that.
say.
Doom mod.
He made
They say there was like the Doom map
Of
that
the
was
school.
of the school.
Yeah. It was like his name. I don't want to glorify any names. His name was Eric Harris, and I don't remember what the other guys was.
Klebold.
Dylan Klebold, yeah. And Eric Harris was the one who played Doom, and they found, he was like one of the top people in Doom making maps and stuff, and he was like real active in the online community. So that's why there was this like instant link to video games. And
Yeah, and I remember like Marilyn Manson came under fire too. And if you watch the Michael Moore Bowling for Columbine documentary, which is sort of a relic now, right? But they're interviewing like Marilyn Manson on there, and it's so funny to see, I guess, how stuff in art that's considered edgy and like pushing the limits with age becomes so like passe. Like Marilyn Manson now is not edgy
Is
at
tame
all. Like
compared to a lot of stuff
You
out
see
now,
his
yeah.
old interviews where he's like got slicked over hair and like one fake eye in, and he's like, he comes out in like a leather outfit, and people are like, "Oh my god, who is this? Who is this devil worshiper ruining our kids?" And you watch that now, and you're like, "This is so fucking lame."
like there
you
was
know?
a famous like interview with him where the biggest like the parents all had issues with it was like mosh pitting, and that was like the big issue they were against is kids are going to these concerts and they're going in mosh pits and they're going to the hospital. That is like so like you go to, because I frequent like metal concerts and heavier concerts. I mean, it's so commonplace now, like you don't bat an eye at it essentially. But back then that was like, it was reason for him to be on all these national news places.
I think it's always good for people to keep a perspective, because I mean, hell, you go to any football game, high school football or basketball games, and they're playing Ozzy Osbourne. And I remember my dad telling me like, man, when this came out back when I was a kid, they would have never played this at like a school function. And now it's like, what is Ozzy Osbourne? Like, I guess he's an OG of metal, but nobody thinks that that's fucking cool or hard.
No.
You know what I mean? Like nobody's like, oh damn, he's got the heavy shit. Get the kids out of the room.
You go to like a sporting event. I'm going off the rails.
Yeah, you got little kids singing that.
Or
too.
like they play the Mortal Kombat theme at the Super Bowl, which is like crazy.
Yeah, that was a game that was under. Well, I saw an interview with Ozzy not too long ago where it's the infamous like he bit the head off a bat.
Yeah.
And he was like, during that time he was, drinking and possibly doing more. And he's like, someone threw this bat up on stage, and he's like, in my like first instinct, real quick, he's like, this is a prop. And he's like, so I picked it up and I was like, I'm gonna bite the head off this prop. And he's like, it wasn't until I bit down on it that I realized it was a real bat.
That's how COVID started.
Yeah.
He's like, I just gotta roll with it at that point. I was like, I guess. All right. I want to bring up my big point that I want to make this week.
Okay.
And we were talking about it a little bit before we started the podcast, me and Matt, where I keep scrolling down through. I still have the relic that is Facebook. And I was scrolling down through my feed earlier today while, I was taking like a dump. And
As you do.
I don't want to offend anyone, but people posting pictures of their kids immediately after birth with like, they're completely naked. And they still have like the birth bits on them.
You put it the best way you could. Bits.
And they post pictures of these kids up. What that picture is going to exist on the internet when this kid is like 5-10 years old. This picture is going to be up. Save that picture for your family album. Like, random people online do not need to be seeing this picture.
Yeah. I think that shit's
agree.
gross. Like, at least have it cleaned up and wrapped up.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Like, take a nice picture if you're gonna like post of like a newborn, not like, comes out, take a picture.
Well, yeah, because like the picture where the baby is fresh out the womb, like anybody that wants to see that is probably there. And
That's
if they're not, like you said, Luke, take that picture. Don't put that on Facebook.
I don't want to.
Weird.
I'm not saying it's a bad picture to take. I'm saying it's a bad picture to post online.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
I have a kind of a story in a similar vein on Facebook, which I love mixing up with people in the Facebook comments. It's one of my favorite topics. It's so fucking fun. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's just people are so goddamn
They
stupid.
just line up. And
So for some reason, I was in the Kennywood Facebook comments, which is a local amusement park in Pittsburgh. And this was right. Actually, I went on the day all the places lifted like the mask ban.
as seen in Adventureland, the movie.
Yeah, I've seen Adventureland. And this chick was like, because they hadn't made an announcement yet whether or not they were removing the masks or not. And this lady was like, I need to know whether or not so I know whether to bring a mask or not. Can you make an announcement? And she was being all shitty. And I'm like, just fucking put it in your pocket. And if you don't need it, put it back in your pocket. So I was doing my investigation. And her cover photo, which is like goes like above your profile, was like her grandkids naked, dick out in a bathroom. And I'm like,
wow.
I did report it, one, because she was annoying, but also like there are people that are probably jerking off to this.
I wanted to touch on that because that was my next point about this posting kids like that. Is that child pornography?
Yes. Yeah. Like at what point does it become child porn? Because I remember watching someone who on social media that I follow who had a baby and they're a little older and they were constantly just posting videos of their kid like in nothing but like a diaper, like running around. And this kid's probably like 5 years old or something like that. And I'm just like, what? And it's a girl. So it's like, it's like a naked girl basically just in nothing but a diaper. And I just think, why does that have to be
on Facebook,
on a social media platform that everybody is seeing? Like, you're not sending this to your friend like, oh, hey, grandma, look at little Jimmy boy in the bathtub or whatever. This is like, here's my kid running around the house naked. And
save that for your family albums.
I know it's a kid, so people don't look at it perverted, but I also think like
some people do.
Yeah, some people do. And does that, like, if you were that kid, I always kind of empathize with that. Like, if I was that kid, would I want like my mom posting like my dick on Facebook?
And these people don't think about that. They just want the likes.
Sure.
So, like, oh, Junior keeps losing his diaper and running around. Like, that picture does not need to be out there for anyone to view.
I was over at my in-laws' house one time, and there's a little kid that lives across the street, and he did the funniest shit where he came outside, and I watched him just like drop trowel. He's in the front yard facing the street and just starts peeing. And the dad comes running outside. He's like, no, get back here. And I was busting out laughing because that was funny, but I didn't record it.
I mean, that's what it is. Like,
how weird would that be if a kid drops trout and you're like, oh shit, start recording it?
But I think that's illegal.
I wasn't like, oh man, this is so funny. I'm going to post this to all my
4K.
channels. Like,
kids are going to be kids. They're going to do things like that because they don't understand, but it doesn't need to live on social media.
And like, I think it still is CP because if you think about in high school, like some girl in high school sends her boyfriend nudes.
We had
like,
that happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's like
charged.
16. Yeah. The intention isn't like child porn, but like, that's what it is. So same deal. Like I don't think these people in most cases are trying to. Oh shit.
Yeah,
there's some lightning.
Yeah, it sounds like it's fucking outside, or it looks like it's outside. Yeah, the intention isn't like. Oh really? Oh damn it! Well, no, Brandon's saying we can't hear it.
Or the God of Thunder is going insane now. You
probably
guys can't hear it, but yeah.
But yeah, like the intention isn't to broadcast like CP, but
of course, I know that's not.
Still don't fucking do it. That's why I reported that lady.
And I take that philosophy and almost extend it out of the CP category and just think about embarrassing stuff. You know, we've been in the age for a little bit now where parents can post embarrassing stuff that their kids do straight to social media. And I just think about some of the shit I did as a kid. Some of the situations I got into that might have been funny and might have gotten some likes to post, but I am so glad did not end up on like
what?
Those after dentist videos. Do you ever see those where they're like, you know,
I hate
they're on those.
Yeah.
I love you. Like, is this me?
It's like, it's funny, sure, but
people record their kids high after the dentist and think it's the funniest thing, and then when they catch Junior with some marijuana, they're like, you're not staying in this fucking house. It's like, oh, but you think it's hilarious every time a kid gets posted like high after getting his tonsils removed. I just think that that's kind of fucked up. Like, I think you should keep in mind that your kid is going to be on social media and people that know them are going to like see this stuff. Obviously, like it's up to the parents, but I guess that's what I'm trying to get at is that this is the kid's life, but it's up to the parents whether or not, here's a picture of my kid's dick. You know what I mean? Like,
Brandon, what do you think about all this?
I just don't use social media that
smart,
much.
Good choice.
Smart man. Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword. Some of the most entertaining shit, but also some of the most infuriating.
Yeah. As long as I don't do it. All right. So I'm going to take this even a step further in a better direction. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So the popular thing right now is OnlyFans.
Okay.
And so
What's that?
I don't know. I've never used it.
Let's Google it.
There's OnlyFans. I'm sure you know what it is. It was built as a
Put
good
on
intention.
private browsing and Google it.
Yeah, it was built as a good intention website, I guess, where they claim it was, where people can pay for a service, and it turned into a lot of girls selling naked photos for a monthly subscription. And that follows this trend of this is like the big thing right now. Oh, OnlyFans. That is going to exist forever on the internet. These like naked pictures, they're going to spread. And for example, I was watching a video of a content creator that I regularly watch, and there was, a new video came out, and there was like 2 guys and 2 girls, and I was on his Instagram, and I was just looking up like, oh, I haven't seen this girl before in one of his videos. I was like, who is this? So
It's your mom.
And so I click on her Instagram to go like, oh, maybe I want to follow her content if she makes it too. And all I could find about her was, I guess, no names, but she had like an opioid addiction and did like the cam websites and the OnlyFans previously. And everything, and she cleaned herself up a couple years ago, but everything she has done since then, all it is people just post pictures of her like naked or like the drugs, or she used to sell her underwear, and that's like, it just follows her like a plague. Anything that she does now. And I was like, that stuff lives forever. Like how popular it is now.
Yeah.
It's like insane. It's another thing too that's gonna like follow you forever.
Well, yeah, what goes down online never goes away. I would say the
That's
difference.
what our middle school principal always told us.
Right. The biggest difference between like something like OnlyFans and something like the previous subject is that those are adults making the choice to do that stuff.
Yeah, that's fair too.
Where, I like to think, sure, there are examples where someone goes through a phase where they're on drugs and they're doing this to sell money and they're ashamed of that, but they're probably doing a lot of things they're not proud of because of like drug addiction. Whereas I think most sober adults that are making the choice to do that and earn income off of it, like, you're an adult, that's your choice. I think it's odd. We could go down a whole rabbit hole. I think it's very odd, like, that porn is legal in this country and has such a is so widely accepted, but then like when you talk about actual prostitution,
It's like that's illegal.
That's illegal. It's legal to pay it's not legal to pay someone to have sex with you, but it's legal to pay 2 people to have sex on camera for you.
Yeah.
Basically, because if you're a producer, I know you're not sitting down and like, doing the tango or what. I'm trying to think of a good euphemism, but
whacking the weasel.
Yeah, you're not whacking the weasel while they're while you're recording, but you're hiring 2 people to do that for you, right? Like, hey, would you come and so I can sell this? Would you come and get filmed? I mean,
Come and come.
Yeah.
Like the adult industry itself isn't like I'm not saying like, oh, this is a bad business, but I'm just saying like once you step into that realm, there's like no coming back is what I'm saying.
I think that person is probably the exception rather than the rule. I think if you look at what platforms like OnlyFans have done is have given women not just like a lot more options in terms of financials, but a lot of people are discovering like acceptance in their sexuality in ways that they wouldn't have normally, done before. Yeah. So I think that like one hand you can look at it and I think it'll be weird if those people have kids and then your mom's nudes are out there.
Lana Rhoades just got pregnant. Who's like a famous porn star.
Right.
Yeah, but
for,
I mean,
for in case any of you didn't
well, she's in like all the Blue Chew commercials, which is like a popular online like.
That's not what you
sponsored
perverts
by-
know her from. I
Yeah.
know that. All right.
well, I mean, porn stars have been having kids for like decades.
Yeah,
I
it's gotta be weird a little
I
bit.
watched a popular documentary a while ago called Life After Porn, and they had a woman on there who had the world record for the largest gangbang, and they interviewed her daughter, and I felt really bad because she was just, I forget what she said, but she was just like, yeah, it happened. I love my mom.
I think about that stuff sometimes when I go to like Thanksgiving dinner. Sometimes I picture, what if you're a porn star and you're like going to Thanksgiving dinner? Like, what do you tell? And like, does your family know? And what do you tell them? I guess that's a running joke with a lot of sex workers, that they usually just make up a boring job that they do to tell their family or whatever. But I just think like, what if you're a famous one though? And like, if you're Lana Rhoades, like your uncle probably knows like that you're doing, you know what I mean? Like he goes on there and it's like number one porn star of the day. Oh my God.
Well, they go by a fake name. What would be worse, going to the Thanksgiving dinner and like having to hide it the whole time, or going to the Thanksgiving dinner with like a supportive dad, like, good job, honey, I saw your new video, you did great.
I don't know about that, but you know,
like the overly supportive.
Yeah.
That's probably been like a comedy sketch somewhere.
Yeah.
The supportive porn dad. Good job, honey.
yeah.
Great blow bang.
Yeah. I loved that scene you did with the black guy, the giant black dude in Timberland boots.
Yeah, it's like I paused before, but the acting was great.
All right, Matt, how was the new Suicide Squad? I know you were talking about it
okay.
earlier. I think they did the proper thing this time. Suicide Squad, we've talked about this before. The first one was PG-13, and it should have been rated R. It should have been like a Deadpool-esque movie, and they finally, to my knowledge, corrected it this time and made it like a rated R movie.
So, okay. I did want to talk about the Suicide Squad because I watched it on HBO Max, and the new one is significantly better. I want to touch on the old one for a second. The original Suicide Squad that came out with like the Jared Leto Joker and stuff. So me, Craig, and Brendan, you were not there for this, but it was a group of us.
It was on my birthday. I remember
Yeah.
it came out on my birthday.
So we went to the movie theater and we were like, let's go see Suicide Squad. And it was so bad that I remember the exact scene we left the theater was when Jared Leto, he has like a circle of knives or something, and his carpet, it's like Hot Topic edgy, and he's like, and he leans back into the circle, and we were in the front row of a packed theater, and we had been kind of assholes like the whole movie because we were like laughing at,
we drank before. It was my 21st, so we like went and like
we were laughing at shit, and then we went, fuck this movie, and we walked out, and we walked into a theater showing 9 Lives because we were like, not that the movie where Kevin Spacey voices a cat.
I was gonna say, who does that movie star?
Kevin Spacey, yeah, right, yeah. And we walked into that theater thinking, oh, let's just go sit down. Theater was empty.
Yeah, not
And
a soul.
We sat because 9 Lives is a tight 90. It's only an hour and 30 minutes, and Suicide Squad's like the longest movie ever made. So it's just it's a 3-hour migraine.
Besides the Snyder cut.
So we sat down and watched the entirety of 9 Lives. It was actually not bad. I mean, I wouldn't recommend you go watch it right now, but it was fun. Better than Suicide Squad. And then we went back and watched Suicide Squad. We went back because the movie was still fucking going on. We went back and watched like the end, and we were so confused. It was like, what the hell is even
Which
happening?
is not entirely the movie's fault.
Yeah,
but
I did end up seeing that movie in its entirety at some point, going to watch it with somebody else, and it sucks. It's like a historically bad movie. It's generated some of the greatest memes of all time, probably, right? I think anybody only went and saw it to see Margot Robbie in like a crop top, I guess. The new one is a better movie. That's not saying much, but it's
low bar.
It's rated R. There's like gore and lots of swearing and stuff in it. There's even a titty or two. titty count. There's like 2 titties. They're not Margot Robbie's, but
Oh,
yeah, you can watch Wolf of Wall Street. But
I've never seen that movie. Or does she get topless in that movie?
she's like full naked in that movie.
I'm gonna
Right, yes. The Suicide Squad had John Cena in it. That's always a plus because I love to see John Cena try acting. It's awesome. He carries like a Desert Eagle with like an extended barrel on it, so his gun is like this big.
It looks like that one character from Watchmen.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like this character is Soldier Boy. He's supposed to be like a Captain America kind of like parody, basically. I'm not going to spoil anything about the movie. I enjoyed it. It's good popcorn fun. If you like these mature comic book movies, you should check it out. The other movie I saw, because you know I'm bougie and more highfalutin than the rest of you, is I saw A24's The Green Knight. And all I got to say is it was good. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It had very much some vibes that the movie The Witch did, which I also really liked.
Was that the Vivitch?
Yes, the Vivitch. Yep.
Never seen that.
I enjoyed The Green Knight. It was an interesting little take on the classic Arthurian story. So I would recommend, if you're into movies that aren't about giant sharks eating people, which is what Suicide Squad's about, you can watch The Green Knight.
Isn't that the Meg? Hey, ladies, this one's for you since we gave
The Meg.
the Wolf of Wall Street, Margot Robbie. Your equivalent if you want to see a dick in a movie. Go ahead and watch American Reunion.
Oh,
you
hey,
get to see Jason Biggs' dick.
There is one.
Took me by surprise.
There is one dick.
Should I give that an applause?
No.
There is.
Give for the ladies.
for the
Yeah,
ladies.
hey, for the
come
ladies,
on.
give it an applause.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, there is one dick in the Suicide Squad.
Is there?
Yep, it's
That's surprising.
it's a random henchman guy. He like gets out of the bathtub and then John Cena kills him. But he stands up for a second and he's like just digging, whole package hanging out, and he's like, whoa, and then he gets killed.
My mustache.
Yeah, exactly. My mustache.
You remember the American Pie movies? We watched all of them, and when American Reunion came out, it was like so hyped. It was like right around like when we turned 18 too, so it was like perfect timing, pristine.
Yeah.
Oh, what a good movie.
Yep. Good times. A classic movie that's spawned a million. I would want to say it spawned its own genre of film, right?
Yeah, kind of like the coming of age, they called it, I think.
Yeah, because there might be a movie like that before American Pie, but anytime I see a movie like that, I always think, oh, this is like an American Pie knockoff.
I think I heard people call that like a dick movie. Like,
Yeah.
what you see them
Yeah.
called on HBO or some late night comedy, but
Yeah.
people just like, oh, this is like a dick movie or like
Yeah,
a boob
it's
movie.
like, I guess to sum it up the best is like any film that's just about a group of high school boys
And it's unrated.
trying to get laid at graduation.
Yeah. It's always like prom night. Oh, they have to put out on prom night type
and
theme.
You can think like The Girl Next Door was like that. What's Super Bad? Is that
Yeah,
is
that's the
exact?
whole-
That's
yeah.
exactly that plot. Like, it's just a group of high school boys trying to lose their virginity before like
College.
before college. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they continued it with the whole going to college, and I love how they continued it for people who like grew up with that movie. Though they like did the American Wedding, did
Yep.
American Reunion. You're supposed to be like 40 years old watching that, and I'm like, 18. I'm like, oh, this movie's great.
Yeah. Can't wait till my reunion.
So as we get further in the year now, this year's going quick for me. I say that every year. We got fantasy football coming up this year, which is the big preseason starting. We got the Steelers. We played the Cowboys in.
Want to know, baby?
Yeah.
Actually, what's the score right now? They're playing.
Are they playing it? Let's get the live.
playing
Steelers
the
I don't
scores.
know if the Steelers are playing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the
are they?
Steelers and the Eagles. Yeah.
Yeah, they are playing tonight. Matt, what are you looking forward to fantasy this year? Quick rundown.
I guess I do a league with all you guys. It's my friends, and we always have a good time. Luke and I were on the First Time Fantasy podcast, which is a podcast run by our friends,
Steelers.
RJ and Rick.
Steelers 24,
Shout out.
Eagles 16. 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. You're going to see the end of the game here live on the podcast.
I guess what I'm most excited about this year, I guess for real football, I'm excited to see Najee Harris take the field for the
The
Steelers.
second coming of Jesus.
Right. Yeah. I think it'll just be cool to see him out there playing. And for fantasy football, I'm just excited to play again with my friends.
You think Tom Brady can do it again?
I bet on him to win the Super Bowl. If you remember, we took bets on like what team we thought, and I got the like second pick out of all of us, and I took the Buccaneers. So I think the first pick took the Chiefs. So
You guys did it too early this year, though. You're supposed to do it after the draft.
it wouldn't have changed my answer, to be honest with you.
Oh, I know that, but it would have changed mine.
Wouldn't have changed mine.
Yeah. If you remember me, I'm sorry, folks. I hated Tom Brady for so many years, probably like 20 years. And then I had this realization that I didn't hate Tom Brady. I hated Tom Brady with the Patriots, and he moved down to the Buccaneers. And then I kind of had this like rejuvenated, like, hey, this guy's not that bad. He's doing some funny videos. You know, he celebrated. He was like having some drinks, drunk on the boats, throwing like this stuff around. I was having a good laugh. And I was like, you know, this guy, I actually wore a Tom Brady Tampa Bay makeshift
shirt.
jersey to the Super Bowl. And I was like, you guys can fight it, but Tom's going to win.
I'll say this. I don't think it's ever been really about Tom Brady personally with me. I think I hate him. I hated him for the reasons most people hated him or hate him now, is because the Patriots would just win it every year. And even when they didn't win, it's like they took up the playoff spot for the AFC. And I'd just be like, every year I'm like, God, again? Why even watch football
Just
when
let them
I
into
can?
the playoffs.
Yeah,
Like-
why even watch football when I know what team is going to win the fucking Super Bowl at the end of the year? Just say the Patriots are in, have the NFC losers duke it out for whoever's going to get to lose to Tom Brady again. And it pissed me off, and I'll just say, Craig, to finish up, when he left the Patriots and went to Tampa Bay, the narrative instead just became, can this old dude get another Super Bowl ring
Yes, he can.
with a different team? And I tell you what, I didn't really care until they got into the playoffs and they started beating other teams. And I kind of was looking at all the playoff teams. I'm like, oh, the Chiefs look good, whatever, Packers. And when Tampa Bay like was going up against the Green Bay Packers, I remember looking at like the roster for that game, and that was the first time that it hit me that like Tom Brady was back far in the playoffs. And I was like, I looked at that and I went, is he going to do it again?
I accepted it by that point.
And when he went in, I'll tell you what, the media almost put me in Tom Brady's camp, because the media is so quick to spin this narrative of like, this Chiefs team is just too good. And I remember one of those dullards, oh my God, was it, there's Stephen A. and Max Kellerman said like, it's time for the game to happen and Brady to pass the torch to Pat Mahomes as the GOAT. Let me tell you something, guys. If you're a Kansas City fan, that's fine. Pat Mahomes, he's a fine football player. Motherfucker has played 3 years in the end, 3 or 4.
Yeah.
He is not the GOAT yet. Tom
let
Brady
him have some time to develop.
Yeah, Tom Brady's been playing for like God knows how many years.
There has been people
longer than I've been alive, and he's won so many Super Bowls. That's why he gets called the greatest of all time, because statistically he fucking is.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is not the GOAT yet, guys. GOAT does not stand for best player in the league. GOAT stands for greatest of all time. And even if Patrick Mahomes had beaten Tom Brady in a Super Bowl, that doesn't make him the greatest player that's ever existed.
There we go. Final score real quick, 24-16. Pittsburgh Steelers 2-0, baby.
Steeler Nation, baby.
I can't wait to watch the EDP video on this. He's going to be pissed.
Isn't he in jail?
Yeah, he should be.
Yeah.
So last thing I want to say, I know I already said that, but second last thing I want to say, Craig, to clear it up. I think the media pushing that narrative made me want, like, I don't have anything against Patrick Mahomes, but I was like, I hope Tom Brady beats that motherfucker so I don't have to hear about this, like, GOAT shit anymore. Like,
I'm just tired of hearing about Patrick Mahomes.
I know. It's like, he is like a pop song that gets played too much on the radio.
Yeah, nothing wrong with him, but he's kind of overplayed.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. I compare a lot of the Tom Brady Patriots hate. They're like the Lannisters. Like, that's where the hate comes from, is like this, like, kind of incestuous, if you've seen the video of him kissing his son.
That haunts my dreams.
Yeah. And they just have that Lannister vibe. And also, I realized that when it comes to sports entertainment, whatever, you kind of need that figure where like you hate people. Like I would watch a lot of times like fighting games. Like
You need a good heel.
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
You need a good
And
bad guy.
People always hate like the douches, the people that were mean, but like you need that, and people will sometimes root for them. Like they're an important part of the entertainment factor. So I respect Tom Brady for what that is. The other thing I wanted to say is one and a question. So this General Braddock's hitting me hard.
General Braddock.
Yeah. So it's very weird seeing. This is probably the last season of our generation, because if you think about like whenever we pay attention to football, you have like Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger.
We were talking about
Tom
this
Brady.
earlier.
Yeah. And so many people are gone now, and now the new generation, I feel like, started coming out a few years ago with like Lamar Jackson and Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen and stuff. So
almost every team you look at now is a new quarterback.
Yeah.
Relatively new quarterback.
This is like the swan song for us. Is like, I mean, I'm sure that Ben and Brady are going to be playing for another few years, knock on wood, but
We'll see.
yeah, we'll see. But yeah, this is like pretty much the end of our era, which is kind of bittersweet. But besides that, what I wanted to ask, because I watched a clip on Colin Cowherd's show.
Okay.
He was having kind of a fun little segment about who's Hall of Famer, who's not right now.
Yeah.
And he said that Patrick Mahomes is not a Hall of Famer yet.
Okay.
I agree. I don't think he's been around.
I disagree completely.
I mean, what happens next if he blows out his leg and has to he can never play again, say like tomorrow? Did he do good enough in 3-4 years to justify being in the Hall of Fame?
I think so. I think if you look at like how he was like, I don't want to say he changed the game because that's very vague, but like he is completely dominated. He was such a threat, and he had a few injuries, but he won a Super Bowl. He made it to second one, yeah. And I don't know. I just think that he was such a figurehead in the league that to omit him if he stopped playing tomorrow. I mean, how long did Calvin Johnson play and he's in the Hall of Fame?
Standing in the Hall of Fame.
Here's the Calvin Johnson played. I don't remember. I know he joined because I saw like a meme about this the other day. He joined during Tom Brady's 5th season and retired at like Tom Brady's 19th season and is in the Hall of Fame. So his entire career was while Tom Brady was still playing.
Yeah. Well, my point being is like I don't know if it was like 4 years or whatever. Pat Mahomes has been in the league, but I feel like if Calvin Johnson is proof that it doesn't necessarily matter the length so much as it is the impact you've had. And so I think he's definitely had the impact. And I think one thing Shannon Sharp always says that I think about is, can you tell the story of football without this person? Now, you could probably tell a story of football without Alan Faneca, but I think that's a good thing to think about when it comes to people that are on the edge, like Eli as another example.
That's a great way to put it, Craig. Okay, well, I think we're past the hour mark. Do you guys want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch one more thing, that Dak Prescott is in the top 10 highest paid athletes of all time.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Wait, are you sure you can say that? That might be a violation of his HIPAA.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if you can say that.
I remember watching the Conor McGregor fight, showing the Forbes list of top 10 for 2021, and Conor McGregor was number 1, and the rest of the guys you see on that list are like the faces of their sport, and I think the only football player on there is Dak Prescott, and I was like, is Dak the face of football? Not at all.
No.
Like I would say, unless you're a football fan, you don't even know who that is.
Is he a Hall of Famer too? Like bring that up again?
I don't know. Yeah, he's the face of the Cowboys.
Definitely, but the Cowboys are on Hard Knocks this year, so that should tell you all you need to know about how the Cowboys have been doing lately.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they don't really have. There's like Ezekiel
losing
Elliott.
the easiest division in football, like the past couple of years, like just seizing defeat from the jaws of victory. Like,
he also doesn't really ooze star power. Like, I don't think they have anyone stand out. They have like CeeDee Lamb and Ezekiel Elliott, but Ezekiel Elliott's in too much trouble, and so he's like the de facto face. So it's just odd. I'm surprised they paid him that much.
Yeah, nothing against Dak really, but I was like, does he deserve to be the highest paid guy in football? I don't know. I know he puts up some good stats, but goodness gracious, even when he's not getting injured, like, is he putting his team? Is he really carrying the team?
When they say highest paid, they mean like per year.
Just
off
like his
contract.
overall contract of like.
It's bigger than Patrick Mahomes.
Oh yeah, he's the number one paid in the NFL.
Wow.
Yeah, that's all I'm getting at is this. Why?
It's weird. Yeah,
And plus, is he? I understand like maybe he's just really important to the Cowboys, but is he that important? Like, how would you rank him in like in terms of like a quarterback, like 32 teams?
Great.
Would you put him like how close to like the middle would you put him? Like, would you put him above the middle?
In fantasy, he's in the top 5 because he runs a lot.
Yeah, but like, I mean, Cowboys haven't made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, if you're in the worst division of football, I don't know how good you can be perceived, but
All right,
ladies and gentlemen, that is the Pretty Good podcast this week. Look forward to episode 4 next week. We got the Deadliest Warrior coming up
our
next
previous
week.
episode, you should put it to the camera, is currently privated right now because we need to. We don't want to reveal that we're showing our faces.
Yeah.
So, and the Green Bay vs. Spetsnaz is not done yet. So this will probably. I don't know when this will come out, but
Probably soon after the second one.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah,
I'll put these up quick. I finished editing the second one like over a week ago, and it's been sitting private on YouTube for like a week.
yeah,
bit of a learning curve with the video camera. So
Hey, yeah, I mean everything. We're just getting everything initially set up. So, but we got the Deadliest Warrior coming up next week. That's episode 8 now. That is William Wallace versus Shaka Zulu.
almost done. Season
Yeah.
1.
And then if you want some more fantasy football like we got rolling at the end there, our friend RJ and Rick, they have the First Time Fantasy Podcast. Me and Matt were just featured on a recent, I think it's episode 3.
yeah, and the
there's-
NFC North episode.
Yeah,
So
you can
look for
find
that.
us on there. If not, stay tuned to Xenu Games. We just got a new Golf with Friends put up. We got some more gameplays coming.
I do want to say, I think it's funny because like we could probably naturally incorporate their podcast, but I want to see them naturally incorporate mentioning the Deadliest Warrior podcast in a podcast about fantasy football.
Yeah.
That's your fantasy news this week. Also, tune in to the Deadliest Warrior.
William Wallace for Shaka Zulu.
You know who'd be a great football player, Rick? Who's that, Arj? Shaka Zulu.
Shaka Zulu.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll catch you next time.
And I'll
See you
see
there.
you on the aftermath.